Hello, welcome to Women in Mobility. A gold medalist in psychology and an MBA in HR, having multidisciplined experience in multinational corporations. Pooja Bansal is the Chief Human Resource Officer at Piaggio, India. Pooja is responsible for providing strategic leadership to the overall function of human resource by establishing and driving HR strategy, supporting organization with strategic insights, and orchestrating and championing HR delivery. She is spearheading initiatives along with the top management to forge the organization's talent capabilities, setting up and implementing personal policies relating to industrial and trade union relationships. Pooja has developed cutting-edge practices in strategic human resource management at both corporate and manufacturing plant levels, with a key focus on managing talent pipelines, industrial relations, strategic HR management, and CSR. Stepping into her roles as young Chief Human Resource Officer for Piaggio Vehicles during COVID pandemic, Pooja has successfully managed the highly volatile, ambiguous, and uncertain period, leading to sustained continuity at manufacturing facility. At Piaggio, she has also conceptualized and led the digital transformation initiatives. Pooja has been the recipient of more than 15 individual awards in India and across the globe. Under her leadership, Piaggio Vehicles has received around 18 organization category awards within the first 9 months of 2021. Pooja, welcome to Women in Mobility, our initiative to engage with women leaders across the mobility space to understand their perspectives on the leadership and take inspiration from their corporate journey. Welcome, Pooja.
Thank you so much, Murli, for having me here. Thank you.
What are the key motivating factors for your leadership journey?
I think what motivates me, I've spent like almost now 12 years in the automotive industry. And when I entered in the automotive, I was, in my late 20s, a very young girl who entered into automotive, which was dominated by men. And in the 12 years journey, I have realized that what really keeps me moving is every time somebody says that this cannot be done by a woman is what motivates me more. So I need to prove it. It's possible. It's possible that anything and everything that a man can do, so can a woman do, irrespective of the industry. And, when I joined back 12 years back, we were a handful of girls working in this organization. I think we could really count on the fingers the kind. So it was totally male dominated. And the challenges that came my way, it was not just about the job profile challenges. It was also about the environmental challenges. How do you really adapt yourself in an environment where people started with a little doubt in their mind when they had to collaborate or when they had to include you for certain initiative, for certain tasks? There was a little reluctance. So you had to adapt yourself, and those are the challenges that I really enjoy. And I guess it's the environment and the job profile put together that keeps me going.
So you are qualified in psychology and human resources. And one interesting aspect that I got to know from your profile is you've taken some digital transformation initiatives. So what is the motivating factor behind, and how did you get into this?
So, when I took over psychology, I literally wanted to do or pursue something in counseling. I was quite interested and intrigued by the fact that you can help people. And interestingly, I wanted to do criminal psychology, and that's what I also studied.
Okay.
Yes, and I did spend a lot of time going around interacting with people who were with a different mindset. So I wouldn't call them they were criminals, but definitely people who were not really organized in their mindset. And spent a lot of time, but later I realized that way back, if I have to look back 18 years back, 20 years back, when I did my psychology, we didn't really see a lot of acceptance of psychology, and especially criminal psychology, clinical psychology in India. So I decided that, okay, what do I do? I still love to interact with people, and I want to do something in the space of people where I can interact and where. So the two options was either I take up something like sales and marketing, or I take up human resources. Now, since I had done psychology honors, the best use of psychology would have been in the human resources, and that's when I went ahead doing my MBA with specialization in HR. Did extremely well, intrigued by that. And then once I got into the organization, it was all about how do you apply your psychology knowledge, and how do you apply the applications that you learned during the human resources. And why not couple that up with your digital transformation initiatives? So that's how the journey has been.
That's very interesting to know. But are there any situations where your decisions impacted the organization or an individual in their career?
Yes, because a lot of situations, I would say, we are bound to take a lot of decisions related to career promotions, job opportunities that people look around. And I have been a part of certain decisions where we had to evaluate people and really see if that person is appropriate for a job opportunity or not. A lot of times you do take a lot of risk in those decisions as well, because there is no scientific methodology that tells you that if you promote an individual to a critical position or a high risk position, that person is going to really do extraordinarily well. So there is some intuition, some judgment, some gut feeling that we do use. And there have been several occasions where I have been able to take a decision on the growth and career of individuals, and it has succeeded in that decision. It was the right decision of putting the person in that particular position. But at the same time, I must admit that there was a lot of risk involved as well, because you are taking a decision to promote an individual, especially in a high risk, high critical position, which is going to be directly impacting the business. You're taking a lot of onus on you. So I would say, yes, a lot of times where our decisions or my decisions have impacted the careers, and it has resulted into good opportunities for the organization as well.
Okay, that's good. So that means what kind of a strategy you adopt in your leadership? Will it be rigid or flexible, or a mix of both?
I would say it's a mix of both. Yeah, sometimes it completely depends upon the situation. So obviously you can't be very rigid, and neither can you be very flexible. I mean, either ways doesn't help an organization. Definitely, we have a robust structure. We have a process. We do adhere to the process when we need to look at growth, promotion, or opportunities that we give to people within the organization. But sometimes, looking at the situation, we do become flexible as well, because that's where your experimentation comes into play, right? And finally, we need to remember that we're dealing with human resources, that's people. And people are very fluid. We are looking at behaviors of individuals which can change every day, every minute, in fact. So if we are too rigid, there's a high possibility that in this rigidity, we might just lose on good people. We might not really do justice to a lot of talent that you have. But if you're too flexible, then we are not able to really explain to people as to why a particular decision was taken. Because finally, you need a structure which does justify your decisions, which just does justify as to why a particular action for an individual was taken. But I would say it's a combination of a 70-30. 70% of the time, we are definitely rigid because there is a framework. We need to respect the framework, the structure, the processes, and we do have some very robust processes which are integrated in the organization culture. But 30% of the time, we do some flexibility in making a decision as well. But it does not mean that we take that 30% of the time decision without any data and base facts. Everything is on the facts that we have.
Okay. So what's your view on empowering women in your own organization?
I guess it's something that every organization needs, and my organization definitely is moving towards it. And we have evolved over a period of time. And today, I can very confidently say that we are an organization that definitely believes in giving equal opportunities to both men and women. I wouldn't say that, just because somebody is a woman, we would give them extra privileges or we would give them some special benefits. We don't have that as an organization. We believe that though we want to encourage women workers or women employees or women employment, empower women in the organization, but it has to be done in a way that sounds justifiable, because finally, we're not talking about just gender preferences. Because the moment you start talking about gender preferences, then you are being unfair to another gender. We're just talking about, we're talking about giving equal opportunity. So we do have an environment which is conducive. We do have practices and policies which, irrespective of the gender, would give everybody equal opportunity. We do have provisions where we're looking for positions where we can actually hire, irrespective of gender. So gender neutral policies do exist. So it is all about creating an environment where women can take more opportunities, but at the same time, in my capacity, I feel it's going to be something which is going to be equal for both genders. I mean, irrespective of whether I believe in women empowerment or not, the growth, career opportunities, meeting their aspirations, it's all subjected to the competency and performance of the individual.
Okay. Can this be construed as an offshoot of your decision to create an assembly line fully managed by women?
Yes, I would say, I think, that has been one of the most exciting decisions for me. In Piaggio, it's the first time that we have women actually being on the shop floor, actually being on the production line. And not only having women as a part of the production line, but the entire production line is being run by the women. And everything, right from the beginning of the product till the end of the product. And that itself talks a lot. I think it's so exciting to see that when we had earlier, it was all men dominated. So the moment you would go on the shop floor, you could only see men all around. But today, when you actually go on the shop floor, and that too in a commercial vehicle, which is one of our oldest plants for Piaggio, and we started with commercial vehicle. And when you go to that shop floor, and today you see a good balance, you see diversity on the shop floor. It's an amazing feeling as an organization. And definitely that has been one of the reasons that we have propagated or we have encouraged that why cannot a woman actually run the production line, and why do we want a mix of a men and a women on the production line? So end to end, everything done by the women.
But still, there are many organizations, they're not encouraging women. But what is typically lacking in those organizations today that prevents women from reaching to the leadership roles?
I wouldn't really comment as to what's lacking, but I think out of my experience, I would just say that there's a little apprehension that we as an organization have. Okay, I'll give you my example to simplify it. I took up the CHRO position right amidst the COVID, right? So I was given the position in mid of 2020s. The time which was so unpredictable and ambiguous, nobody knew what's actually required to be done. And I had never, in my past experience, before I took up this position, I had never dealt with the employee relations or the industrial relations, so-called blue-collar workforce. And imagine me taking the position where I had to get into trade union conversations and trade union negotiations. And the trade unions were never used to seeing a woman on the opposite side of the table to have a negotiation. So while I'm dealing with all the challenges of the external environment, I'm also dealing with the mindset change, the cultural change that I had to bring about while I took over the position. So what really constrains an organization is to have that confidence that it's not about whether you're a man or a woman. It's about the competencies. So fine, at the end of the day, really what worked when I'm getting into trade union negotiations is just the way I manage, right? And in fact, the relationships have been so conducive that they themselves have felt all the comfort. And every time we get into a conversation, something that we expect the union to support us, we always come out with a positive output. And I think in the 1.5 year of my journey as on this position, I've had so many meetings with the union that none of my predecessors in this position would have had, because for the environment wasn't this fluid, so futile, that it gave them that opportunity that they had to go back and forth to talk to the unions, right? But in the last 18 months, the environment has been so ambiguous that it was the need. So I've had much more conversations with the union that I would have had with any other category of workforce. So coming back to your question, I think it's just about the confidence. Organizations need to know that they need to give a position based on the competency and skill. Give the opportunity. If you have a doubt, at least there's no harm in giving the opportunity or giving an experience to that individual, and then seeing if the person can manage that particular position irrespective of the gender. And we do. And also another thing is that organizations need to start respecting that we need diversity. With so much of introduction of AI, technological advancement, we are looking at creativity, right? And where do we get this from? You get all this only when you have a diverse workforce. How much can you just rely on male workforce? You need diversity coming from the other gender as well. And the best output comes when you have technological advancement is when you have a diverse workforce. So show a little more confidence, give the opportunity, experiment, try it out. I think we do that with even the men workforce, right? When we have to elevate somebody at a leadership position who is a men gender, we do sometimes take risks. We are not 100% sure if this person is going to be performing in that position or not. Then why can't we take the same risk by giving a women leader the opportunity?
Tell me about the work-life balance. That's a very important thing for women.
Not for me, I feel that when we as women really aspire to be treated equally at the workplace, or we want to get into leadership positions and we want that empowerment, etc. For me, really, that work-life balance is not something that really becomes important, because I guess again, then it becomes like a differentiation. So just because I'm a woman means I need more work-life balance. Look, if you aspire to take up leadership positions, just like a man is not expected to talk about a work life so often, let us also not really bring about that. So for me personally, I've not really ever bothered or discussed about work-life balance, at least for my sake, because I feel that when I look for equal opportunities, then I have to be treated just as the way the company would treat the other men as well. And that's where equality then comes. And that's where then I can actually stand straight and say, okay, fine, what I'm doing is basis the competency and skills that comes. But however, keeping yet a societal ecosystem where we still expect the women to take up more responsibilities at work, I think that's how the society is still operating. We've yet not broken the glass ceiling of the society where they can give the women the entire freedom to just focus on their ambitions and aspirations. Yes, if there are women who are looking forward to have a work-life balance, but yet aspire to do better in the organizations, there could be opportunities given. But if you have to ask me personally, I've never really faced that issue, because I think when you are ambitious, when you aspire to become a leader, I think the work-life balance has to be kept a little in the corner, but irrespective of that, taking care of the responsibilities at home. So that calls for a little stretch as an individual. So instead of working 12 hours, I might land up working 18 hours. irrespective of the fact that I'm not talking about work-life balance, but I have responsibilities at home and I have equal, higher responsibilities in office as well, but managing it with a stretch by myself.
Great. And your vision for the mobility of the future?
More diversity. I think the future is going to be electric. That's for sure. We are moving to electric, although there are certain challenges. I think the infrastructure has to be stronger. The infrastructure has to support the vision of electric mobility. But I guess the future is going to be electric. Every organization has to gear up. We need to have the right skills and competencies to support the EV segment because it's still evolving. Nobody can say that we have all the skills and competencies available to support the EV vision that we have. So while we are evolving, we need to focus, we need to invest. People are going to be very important because they are the ones who are going to be contributing to the future of the EV, but at the same time, the infrastructure to support the EV is going to be equally important. But finally, I'm a strong believer that the future is going to be EV.
Great. The future is going to be EVs. Pooja, thank you so much. It was wonderful catching up with you. Thank you so much for talking to Mobility Outlook, and thank you so much for being part of Women in Mobility. Thank you, Pooja.
Thank you, Murli.